Hi guys, it's Angie with Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. Today I'm going to make a reverse dyed double side fan fold shirt. The shirt's turned inside out and it was washed, so it's just damp with plain water. The shirt that I'm using is a George brand 100% cotton men's long sleeve shirt, which I purchased at Walmart. And this one is a gray color, kind of a medium shade of gray. I'm going to start by centering the shirt, and this process is going to go pretty fast. But I have a link down below in the description for this video to another video which shows how to center a shirt. Essentially what I'm doing is getting both halves of the front of the shirt right up next to each other and both halves of the back of the shirt right up next to each other. That way, no matter what process I do on this shirt, the front, both halves of it should look more similar, and the same thing for the back of the shirt. Okay, so now I need to draw my line on for my double fan fold. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a piece of sinew that I'm going to wrap around a washable marker, and I'm going to use that to draw half of a circle onto my shirt. I'm going to make a mark where I'd like for the center of my fan fold to be, then place that piece of sinew on that line and draw half of a circle on my shirt. You can place this wherever you want to. I like it to kind of go a little bit into the armpit of the shirt. I don't know, it's just kind of a preference thing. If your shirt is too dark, say you're working with a black shirt or another darker color shirt, you can use either a piece of chalk, or I haven't had great success with the pencils made specifically for marking fabric. They don't seem to work too well for me, but maybe I'm just purchasing the wrong ones. I do know that they make specific pencils for marking on dark fabric. Now I'm going to fan fold this line and I'm going to tie it with some sinew. For this design, I'm choosing to use sinew because I'm going to do a reverse dye process. And my sinew is wax coated, so wherever I place a line, pull it really tight and it locks down on itself. Underneath that line, my shirt is going to remain this gray color. I'm going to submerge my shirt in my color remover. So if I just tied it up with, say, some rubber bands or kite string or something like that, most of the color, if not all the color, is going to be removed from the shirt. I won't have any definition in the shirt, which kind of defeats the purpose of a reverse dye for me. So I'm going to go ahead and tie it with some sinew. Once I tie the initial fan fold line, I'm going to go on either side of that line and fan fold my shirt and tie some more sinew lines. With this design, like I said earlier, everywhere that I don't tie a sinew line, that color is going to be removed. So any place where I want to have some of the gray remaining, I need to tie a sinew line. After I finished tying sinew lines, I placed the shirt aside while I continued tying some other shirts. I didn't get back to doing the reverse dye process until the next day, so by then the shirt was mostly dry. It doesn't have to be though. You can go ahead and do the reverse dye process when this shirt is partially damp. Like with regular ice dyeing, if the shirt fold is pretty thick, I like to go ahead and let it dry out a little bit before I do the reverse dye process. I want to make sure that the shirt soaks up that Out White Brite solution really well down into the middle, and I have the color removed in the middle of my folds. So it doesn't hurt for it to dry out. For the reverse dye process, I'm going to use a product called Out White Brite Laundry Whitener, and I purchased mine from Walmart on the laundry aisle. It's usually next to the bleach. It's not a bleach product though, so it doesn't need to be neutralized and it won't damage your fabric the way bleach will. If you can't find any at your local Walmart or one of your other department stores, I have a link down below in the description for this video where you can purchase some from Amazon. Today I'm reverse dyeing quite a few items at the same time. I think I have 6 in my container. I've placed my items inside of a plastic tub or tote, and I'm using this product outside. It does have a smell, and I don't want that smell inside. And I'm also going to wear my respirator for the entire process because I don't want to smell the fumes and I don't want to inhale any of the powder. As you notice, as I'm sprinkling the powder over the top of the items, it is kind of puffing up or blowing in the wind. Where I live, it's windy all the time, so I'm trying to stay away from the powder, but wearing my respirator is always a good idea when using this product. After I sprinkle the Out White Brite powder over the top of my items, I'm going to pour a pot of boiling hot water over the top. If you'll notice, the minute the boiling hot water hits the Out White Brite, it starts to bubble and the color starts to be removed almost immediately. I do have quite a few items down inside of this container though, so my hot water didn't cover all of the items. So what I'm going to do is come back in and add another pot of boiling hot water over the top. I like to have my items almost totally submerged in the Out White Brite solution. So whenever I prepare my water for this process, I usually boil 2 large pots at the same time. I'm also going to sprinkle a little bit more additional Out White Brite over the top, and then I'm going to use a pair of metal tongs which I purchased from the Dollar Tree dollar store to move my items around in the Out White Brite solution. I want to make sure, since I have them piled on top of one another, that each one of the items gets really good saturation from the Out White Brite. I don't want big areas of color remaining in the middle of these folds. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and speed the video up, but after adding my second pot of boiling hot water to this container, I allowed the shirts to remain down in the Out White Brite solution for about 15 minutes. Then I took them to my utility sink and I rinsed them in cold water. And I'm rinsing them in cold water to try to get out a little bit of the residue from the Out White Brite solution. Then I put all of the shirts and the items in this container into my washing machine, which, by the way, I left them tied this entire time. I didn't untie them. Put them into my washing machine and I washed them. I think I used maybe a warm or a hot cycle. It doesn't really matter though. You can wash them in cold if you want, but I do add a little bit of Dharma's Professional Textile Detergent to my water. And I personally do that to get out any of the residue from the Out White Brite and part of the smell. I've heard a few tie-dyers complain about the smell remaining in their items, and I haven't had that issue. I don't know if they're washing them after they do the Out White Brite process or if they're just going straight into soaking them in a soda ash solution and dyeing them. But I think it helps to wash them in between. Once they come out of the washing machine, I place them in a soda ash solution and allow them to soak, then wring them out in my Panda spin dryer like normal, and usually I place most of my reverse dyed items aside and allow them to dry out completely before I dye them. Part of the reason for that is most of the time I have fairly thick folds. I like to do geodes and other thicker folds with reverse dyes. This one I probably could have gotten by with applying the dye with it still damp, but I didn't. I did let it dry out. If you'd like a little bit more information about why I dye thicker items like geodes and mandalas when they're dry, I have a blog post out on my website, and I have a link to my website down below this video in the description. Essentially, I get better color saturation in the middle of those thicker folds if I apply the dye when they're dry. Okay, so you can see that the shirt has gone to kind of a taupey type color. So I've chosen some pink colors to use for the dye. I like pink and gray together, so I thought I would try it on this shirt. The first thing I'm doing is I'm making myself an ice barrier to keep the ice on the shirt. So I'm using some silicone cake molds and I'm attaching them together, wrapping them around my shirt, and then I'm attaching some wooden clothespins to my metal rack to keep the silicone cake molds up close to my item. Because my shirt is completely dry, I'm going to spray a little bit of soda ash solution that I've placed inside of a spray bottle over the top of the shirt. That'll help the dye to stick a little better. So the colors that I've chosen are kind of pinks, and some of them are a little bit coral, orangey pink colors. So let me give you the colors that I'm using. I'm using Laurel Blossom from Dye Spin, Coral from Pro Chemical and Dye, Grecian Rose from Pro Chemical and Dye, Baby Pink and Bazooka Pink from Dharma. And I think that Bazooka Pink was a special order color. You can probably still get it from Dharma, but you have to buy a really large quantity. If you don't want to buy a great big huge amount of that, you can normally find this color out on a Facebook group called Tie-Dye Supplies Marketplace. I've placed a link to that group down below this video in the description. People out there buy these special order colors and package them down into smaller quantities to sell. I'm also using Rosebud from Pro Chemical and Dye, Chantilly Pink from Dye Spin, Watermelon from Pro Chemical and Dye, Pink Lilac from Dye Spin, and Strawberry Frappe from Dharma. That's also a special order color. As I'm applying each of the colors, I'm leaving a little bit of space in between each color. I want to allow the dye a little space to move. I'm not letting the lines that I tied in the shirt define where I put the dye either. I'm kind of going a little bit over some of the lines, putting more than one color in between the lines. I'm just spacing them out to make all the colors that I've chosen fit on the shirt. By the way, you don't have to use this many colors. If you only have a couple pinks or kind of the corally colors, just use what you've got or substitute whatever you have in your dye stock. Pinks can sometimes be a little iffy with ice dye. You know, I've done ice dyed shirts before and used some pinks, and the pink just almost totally disappears. So for this shirt, I'm using a whole lot of different pink colors, and I figured if a couple of them disappear, it's not going to be horrible. But I want to make sure I do have some pink and coral colors on my shirt. So I'm playing an odds game. Out of 10 colors, at least part of them have to show up. And if part of the colors don't show up, I don't really mind this taupey color on this shirt. I think it'll look good with the pink colors and the gray lines. Once I have all the dye on the shirt, I'm going to place a little bit of additional soda ash over the top, and then I'm going to add on the ice. Once I place the ice on the shirt, I'm going to take the right end of this metal rack and place it down inside of this plastic tub or tote. That's going to incline the shirt, with the center part of the fan folds being at the top of the incline. That'll allow the dye to move a little bit down the shirt. Then I'm going to place this container aside and allow the ice to melt. After the ice melted, I still had some undissolved dye left sitting on top, so I added a little bit more additional ice and let that ice melt as well. Once all that ice melted, I noticed at the very end where I put the strawberry frappe, the dye hadn't covered all of the shirt area down at the very bottom, so I added a little bit of additional dye there, a little bit more soda ash, and a couple of chunks of ice. Once that melted, I allowed the shirt to process for about 24 to 48 hours before I started rinsing it. Okay, so here's what the shirt looks like right before I started rinsing it. And you'll notice I do have a little bit of taupe showing. I started rinsing the shirt in cold water to rinse out the soda ash. Then I untied the shirt and warmed the water up to hot and rinsed the shirt in hot water to try to rinse out the excess dye that didn't bond with the fabric. Instead of rinsing for a long time, I went ahead and soaked my shirt in some really hot water along with a little bit of Blue Dawn dish detergent. When the water cooled off, I changed it out and I continued that soaking process until my water was remaining almost clear. Then I put the shirt along with some Dharma's professional textile detergent into my washing machine and I washed it using a hot water cycle. So the shirt's been washed, dried, and ironed, and let's see how it looks. Okay, so what do you guys think? I think this one turned out really pretty. I do have some taupe color left, which, like I said, I kind of was expecting that. I have a little bit more than I was expecting, but I really don't think it looks bad. I do have a few hints of color in there, and I tracked down the colors that went in that taupey area. They were baby pink and bazooka pink from Dharma and rosebud from Pro Chemical and Dye. Like I said, I've had issues before with pink colors. I just don't tie-dye a lot with pink because I have had issues in the past. The colors just don't show up. I mean, for some reason, I don't know if it's just me. If you're an ice dyer, let me know if you have problems with pinks too. I really probably should start tracking which pinks I have issues with. I know I've had issues with hot pink in the past, so I purposely didn't use that one. So I'm really happy with this shirt. Most of these pinks did show up, and I think they look really pretty together along with the gray lines and the taupe left over from the shirt. But what do you guys think? Please drop me some comments down below and let me know. And if you've enjoyed the video, I sure would appreciate it if you would like it and if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you'll hit the bell, you'll receive a notification whenever I upload a new video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.